Good afternoon. Welcome to Local Connections, where we meet. I'm Brad Weber with Local Umbrella Media. This is the show where we meet some very interesting and important San Diegans that you may not have heard of or may need to know a little bit more about. I have two very special guests today that I'm going to introduce you to in a bit, but I do have to give a shout out to our sponsors. The Fiesta del Sol in Solana Beach is coming up May 21st and 22nd. It's an amazing event. It's all small town America. It's in beautiful Solana Beach. And the Lomas brand in Solana Beach, who's a member of the Chamber of Commerce. We just had an event there last night. I promised them that I just love these people. Sean and Fatima are the owners. They're all about small town America, wonderful people. So if you're near Solana Beach before or after May 21st, go to the event and go see the Lomas brand. My guest today, welcome, is Simona Valanciute. She's the CEO of Oasis San Diego Oasis. I'm a big fan of San Diego Oasis. I love what you do for seniors in the community, and also you're a member of one of the biggest Rotaries, I think, in towns in the U.S. The Rotary 33 downtown. Two wonderful organizations, and our other guest is Zhanna Talanova. Hopefully, I said that close to right. A Ukrainian native, Ukrainian, right, living in the United States. And we're going to talk about some of the very important work some of our local people, including the two of you, are doing to help Ukrainian refugees through this crisis. So, number one, I'll shut up and say welcome. Thanks
Thank
for being
you. We're excited to be here with you, Brad.
Thanks.
Thank you
Well,
very much. Thank you very much. It's my honor to be here.
well, it's nice to meet you. And I haven't met you before, but I've known Simona for quite some time, and I'm a big fan of your service to the community in general. So this is just one more example of it. So I'm just going to know a lot more about this than I do. So I'm just going to ask you to tell us, what you're doing. I know you had a big fundraiser to raise money. You're helping people get settled here through the border from Mexico and some other ways. So tell us a little bit about the background and what you're doing here.
Brad, I'm originally from Lithuania, from a town called Joniškis, Lithuania. So when the war broke out, immediately our hearts were aching. And immediately, every one of us in Poland, Romania, Lithuania, because we're so close to the Ukrainian border and we have a lot of shared history, we felt the pain, the fear, and the quick desire. We have to help, and we have to do it now because we're next. This aggression, we've seen it before. We understand it as a very raw and physical and historical perspective. So given that, and being a Rotarian, and like you said, Rotaries are all over the world. I know the Rotary friends in Joniškis, Lithuania. I'm on the board and a member of San Diego Rotary 33. That's the fourth largest club in the world. Mm-hmm. And immediately my colleagues at Rotary said, what do we do? Tell us what's going on. Help us understand this. So as I was speaking a little bit with every Rotary Club member, they said, we need to know more and we need to help. We need to join from San Diego by raising money and giving it to Joniškis, Lithuania, where already they were feeding people and taking people in and also providing the support of basic supplies to the very brave Ukrainians, many of whom have no military experience. And then volunteers that fled into Ukraine to help sort of protect the land, stand the ground, not fall just like Russian leaders expected it to. Yep. So we rallied really quickly. I promised to provide an hour-long perspective on geography, Putin's history, USSR history, Ukrainian history. We invited all the wonderful lifelong learners from San Diego Oasis who are very smart and engaged and always learning. We invited our San Diego Rotary friends, Lithuanian community, and we, of course, said we can't do this event for Ukrainians without Ukrainians. And that is how I met Zhanna, who had just gotten to the United States, and she joined us as a guest. So we had little children performing Ukrainian songs, some history, geography, what this means and how we need to understand it. And then Zhanna's perspective, who said, I've arrived here 2 days ago. So I hope Zhanna can tell us a little bit more.
Thank you. I can tell a little bit more, because I was that witness, one of those 44 million people who woke up at 4 a.m. on the 24th of February because of the bombs that started exploding in each and every city of Ukraine.
Mm.
And, I opened my eyes, and first I thought, well, just a usual thing, maybe something I misheard something or something like that. Then I heard another explosion and another explosion, and I opened my Facebook, and I saw all my friends asking one and the same question: have you heard that? And oh my God, we all understood that it has begun, and that was an absolute disaster. Nobody was prepared for that. Like, nobody wanted that, and it changed our lives just like that, just immediately, And since that. 2 months have passed already, and since that we have had so many stories, of people, and there are very different stories. There are stories of people who have left the country and went to Europe or went to America. There are people who have stayed in Ukraine to protect and to help protect, the front and the rear inside the country. And there are tragic stories of people who became casualties and who became victims of this war, were killed. And I'm not going to go deep into this now, because it's just huge pain for not just for Ukrainians, but I think this is huge pain for every living being in this world, for every human in this world. And I know how people feel this pain, how people in different countries feel this pain, because while I was fleeing Ukraine, and that happened on the 28th of February, 4 days after the war started, I was going through Moldova. That was actually the motherland of my grandfather, of my mother's father. And that was the first time that I've ever visited Moldova. Unfortunately, for such a sad reason, never in my life I was there. But when I came to that land, I just felt how people attended to me. They attended to me like I was their granddaughter or something like that. And at that point of time, I thought that you don't need to be rich, to give to people. You just have to be a human. You just have to feel your heart to give. And there is not this is not something that that I haven't seen in other countries. But then I went to Romania the next day. I found myself in Bucharest, because I was having the flight from Bucharest to Paris, and then to here to Los Angeles, to my best friend who is here, who is American citizen, and she is my business partner as well. So thanks God I had the place to go, and I had the person who could meet me. But on my way, as I was fleeing Ukraine, I have met so many wonderful people. And in Romania, I met a man, an attorney, a lawyer, who was helping Ukrainians to settle in Bucharest, because people were settling on their way. So, and then in Paris, when I was flying to Paris, I was having the most wonderful crew of air friends who saw my state, and I was shattered by the time I went on plane from Paris to LA, and they tried, to put the pieces of me together, and I will be forever thankful to them for that. And I had that idea that people don't have, the true stories, what really is going on, because most people, they just have news, and news, they're not real stories, how news work. And this is that's true in every country, I guess, throughout the world. And this is so great to have such programs as yours, Brad, and this is so great to have such events like yours, Simona, that you have that opportunity to share what really is going on in Ukraine, and to share that real pain, and to share that real gratitude from the Ukrainian people, because we are so very much grateful. What we have seen this year, the Ukrainians, we have never, ever seen in our lives so much love. So much love, so much help, and it's amazing. It's very heartfelt.
It's
Thank
heartwarming.
you very much.
It's heartbreaking, of course. Every day is heartbreaking to watch anything that's going on over there, because it's just tragic. But it's also heartwarming that you see these. You see even on the news, which is all we're exposed to. But mostly it's the Polish people that we've seen on the news. But it's just incredible how they've come out and helped, and it does show you the really good side that unfortunately the bad side of humanity brings out. But so tell us a little bit more about the fundraiser and what you're doing right now, because there's a lot of things going on in the border that are changing very soon, not for the better, and a lot of people that are in need are going to Mexico, right, trying to get over, and I know a little bit about it, but you're going to have to explain the details and what can be done, what you're doing, how people can help, and also what's on the horizon.
So we live in a very special city. San Diego is on the border of Mexico, and that was the main entry point. The officials are estimating that about 15,000 Ukrainians so far. Most of them came to Mexico and then crossed through our border. Kudos to the government, I would say, for creating a special entryway to the San Ysidro border from Mexico to the United States. And kudos to all of us, people, churches, organizations, who understood that from now on, thousands of people will be walking through that special corridor. That could be the middle of the night. They're going to get a humanitarian parole stamp by the Border Patrol, which is great. But then they literally walk out. And if it's 3 a.m. in the morning and it's 40 degrees, which it has been, many of us understood we need to be there talking to people, giving them a blanket and asking, where are you going? Do you have a plan? So from my very personal experience, I can give a shout out to my two friends, Dainus and Agla. They are neighbors, they're best friends, and we've been doing this together on a very personal level. Dainus and Agla have been going to the border at night, looking at people and bringing just 7 pairs home. That's how many we've had. 6 out of the 7 had a place to go. They had a cousin, a best friend, a family member somewhere. But, they needed to cross the border and they were not sure when exactly they would do that. So they tried to pick up people that no one else would help. And I can describe a few. So, for example, there was one woman who was breastfeeding and she had 5 children running around and she was so tired. And these kids we needed to gather them up quickly so they don't get lost in the middle of the night when it's cold. And so just getting them together, talking to her to say, can we get you a cup of tea? We're going to hold your kids right here so they don't run away while you breastfeed. That was one. Another was a very young mother with a small child who told us this unbelievable story about passports. If you know a little bit about Ukraine, you know that there's this Donbas region, which is where now the military aggression is moving towards. But this young woman said, I was so scared because my Ukrainian passport was taken away. They wouldn't give me a Russian passport. And they made up this passport about this independent Republic of Donbas, which doesn't exist in any international diplomatic world. So she was saying, it's a miracle I'm here, that I was allowed to enter with this document that of a country that doesn't exist.
Wow.
So again, small child, she just needed a shower, a bed, be in a place where we can help her book tickets and then drive her to the airport.
Right.
And I want to just pause for a moment and give a shout out to Spring Valley Church. They've been running the buses in partnership with Nova Ukraine and housing people and helping them in the very way I've just described. Same thing for United Methodist Church of San Diego and Water's Edge in Ocean Beach.
Great.
I'll tell you about a few other people we've met, just simply because, again, it's a personal, and this is so little, right?
Yeah.
We can all bathe and give dinner and help with an internet connection. One of the families we've taken had a very, very large dog. So the poor dog also traveled with a family in a big crate. And we took one look, and of course, nobody's going to take all that family with all that luggage and this humongous dog. And all they needed was 24 hours on the way to Chicago. And that poor dog, she was running and running and running for hours. It seemed like all that pent up travel energy.
Wow.
And now we are taking care of two women, a mother and a daughter, who don't have a place to go. They don't have a best friend or a family or a relative. So we're trying to just give them some restful, peaceful place and think about how we can help them further.
So I just have a question on, so when people come across right now, so they literally walk into the United States and they don't, if you weren't there, if the churches weren't there, Spring Valley Church and the other churches, what would they're just walking in the streets trying to figure out for them? That's what they
literally
do.
just walk right
they
out.
just walk down. And now are excuse my ignorance if it is, but I know most Ukrainians I've heard on TV and stuff that they do speak English a lot. It's very common, but do all of them, can they communicate? Do they speak English?
So this is a very good question, and I will answer, and Zhanna, jump in. Because I grew up in Soviet Union, Lithuania and Ukraine and 15 other republics were part of the Soviet Union, my generation and older, we all speak Russian. It was just required, and we all do.
Okay.
My brothers and younger, they don't speak Russian, because Russian, after we broke away from the Soviet Union and it fell apart, became one of the foreign languages you could choose, along with French, English, Russian, German. So clearly you probably are much more likely to choose non-Russian language if it's just one you're choosing. So I would say it really depends on the age of people. Okay. Young people speak good English, like this mother and daughter that we have. The 23-year-old daughter speaks good English and Russian and Ukrainian. The mother only speaks Russian and Ukrainian. She does not speak any English.
So the ones that don't speak English, they're really handicapped. I mean, they walk across the border sometimes in the middle of the night with very little to nothing, and they're just walking, I don't know, along the street or along the road or whatever, not even to be able to communicate really. Wow, that's just never thought of it that way. That's yeah, we need more of you. There's no doubt about it. So
the clock is ticking. You briefly mentioned it. From what we know from our administration is that come Monday, this is going to be closed. People will no longer be able to just come get a stamp of a humanitarian parole and walk through. They will have to have a sponsor. That could be a private individual, a church, a business of some sort that would guarantee a place for you to live and financially to take care of you. So if you are those people and you think you want to do this, the administration says they will process these applications quickly, but it wouldn't be, a stranger. It would be a concrete person that a sponsor then would pick, or concrete group of people. Zhanna, maybe you want to jump in on that.
Yeah, sure. Let me address to the first question, whether Ukrainians speak English, and how it is all built up in our country. we have the state program at school where every Ukrainian starts to learn English since the first class, since the first form. And so by the time they graduate, they have been learning English for like 10, 11 years. But the tricky thing is that the English language is from the other family of the languages, not as the Ukrainian or Russian language, because those are the Slavic family, and the English language is the Germanic and family. So it's quite difficult for people, to speak. And because of lack of practice, we don't have that much time of speaking. And our school curriculum does not have that much opportunity for speaking, because we are learning grammar and words, and we are learning how to read and to write, so we can do all that. But when it comes to speaking, this is where this language barrier comes, and people are just afraid of speaking because of some psychological things that comes back from the USSR, from that old school times, when you were asked something, and when you didn't know the answer, you would get an F. You have F here, I know, yes, that terrible mark. And for us, it was the number 2. So if you got 2, that means that you got F. And so it piled up. So people just try not to speak at all. Like they prefer keeping silent. And that's the reason why not so many Ukrainians can speak English. And I've been teaching English for over 20 years, since this is my profession. And I've started as a university teacher, and then I went on as an interpreter, working for an American Ukrainian governmental project. And then I found myself as a co-founder, and business co-owner of the English language school, the private one. And I have seen so many people during these years, and I continue to see them, that they know how to read, they know how to write, they know grammar rules, but they cannot speak. And this is the issue we are addressing here, because when you have that language barrier, you just keep silent. You just like being like a dog. I absolutely do not like this comparison, but this is what we have. We understand everything. We cannot, but we cannot express ourselves, unfortunately. And this is the issue I'm addressing in every of my educational programs. This is the answer to the question how it is with the English language. And of course, our younger generation, they can do better on that, because the psychological patterns have changed already, and young kids, they are not afraid to express themselves, not as much as the older generation. And on the second on the second issue that you've just mentioned, that on Monday, on the 26th of April, the border closes. That this is true, and I have one friend who is late to cross the border, because she and her family had their tickets for the 26th of April, and they had to fly out from Rome to Mexico and then to Tijuana. So they just can't make it, and they have to stay in Rome and proceed with the next refugee program that Simona has just mentioned, when an American citizen or an American business can sponsorship a Ukrainian or a Ukrainian family. But this is quite a difficult procedure, because you have to collect a lot of papers and medical papers as well, and you have to find the sponsor. So this humanitarian parole that they had on and will still be having for 2 more days on the Mexican border, that was like a very easy way to come in here. But of course, and I do understand that when people come here and they have some support, And I wish all the best to my fellow Ukrainians who have come here and have no one to go to and no one to be safe with, because America is a great country, but it is also a country that is demanding a lot from a person, and I know that for sure. You have to be strong here, and then you can make your way, and it takes years to make way in America if you are an immigrant. So immigrants know that, and I wish my people who came here all the best, and I do understand that it's not going to be easy in any way. From my side, I was, after Simona's event, I was so grateful to her. And you know what she is doing? She is doing the angelic work, actually. Angels do that. Angels help. So right. This is how it works here on Earth. Thank you so much, Simona. And after your event, I was starting to think, what else can I do? Because that tremendous amount that was raised at Simona's event, you know, it was so helpful. I'm absolutely sure that you could have managed to buy much more than you have planned with those money, which is so very great. And I thought that I can do something that I can share something that I have, and I have my knowledge of English. So I just went on Facebook again. Thanks, Facebook, for existing and for giving such an opportunity. And I just put an announcement that I'm here in San Diego. I know how to teach English. I love teaching English, so I will just do it for free. Since I have my time as my resource, I can take a group. I had 20 people on enrollment just over 2 nights. This is the demand, how it is important for people who came there. And believe me, these people, they do not speak, they do not have much knowledge of English. All of them, most of them are beginners. And what are beginners? You cannot provide for yourself with a beginning level. Like you can go to 7-Eleven to buy a chocolate, yeah, and it might be enough for you, but it's not enough for go to work and I don't know, to make friends, to express yourself.
Yeah.
Because once you don't know the language, you are transmitting yourself like a child who cannot speak. So this is very important. Yeah.
So you mentioned, Simona, 15,000 people came across the border. Now that's since the war started, or what time since?
That is the statistic I read from the official government resources.
Okay.
Where they were saying we have approximately 1 million Ukrainians in the United States. We estimate 15,000 have crossed since the war began, and most of them crossed through Mexico. So that's why, you know, our community is uniquely positioned to help and organize and support. And many of these people are going other places. As I mentioned, in my direct experience, it was Chicago and Portland and Sacramento and somewhere else. To what Zhanna said, you know, it's a great comfort to find people who are Ukrainians who can help you translate and interpret and give you some comfort, or Russian. Right. You know, this is interesting to think about humanity. Of the churches I mentioned, I have to commend them for being so sensitive to human trafficking. You know, when a crisis of this magnitude is happening, bad actors come out with good actors. Absolutely. So, you know, I was just on the list to be screened also because we offered our bedroom as well that we have at home. But they did such a good job about, even if you said, I'll just drive people from this church to the airport, they needed those people. They were very reluctant to just say, oh, sure, here's the family, you take them. Right. They wanted to do a good job to make sure you are not going to abuse them. You are actually going to take them to the airport. If there were minors or women involved, they did a good job of trying to screen you. And I was so heartwarmed that Lithuanians were there, Ukrainians were there, Americans were there, and Russians were there, helping the Ukrainian refugees crossing the border.
That's great. So is the amount increasing, decreasing? Is it, I mean, 15,000 cents is how many come per day? Is there a daily
So
tally?
because this is completely unregulated, another informational fact I can mention is, so there's two kinds of people coming from Ukraine and other countries, Afghanistan, for example. There is the humanitarian parole, which has no resources or rights. It basically functions, the border's open for you, you get here however you want, nobody asks you questions, you get a stamp, good luck.
Okay.
You don't get workforce development or English language or any help. And you also don't get an immediate permit to work. So again, what do? How do you support yourself, especially if you don't have anybody waiting for you? Refugee is a status that is much better. And my friend Walter Lamb at the African Alliance in San Diego, who was also at the fundraiser, he runs a resettlement agency for refugees. I'm not sure exactly how this works, but these people come with all kinds of funding and rights. And so when the airplane comes full of Ukrainian refugees and these people are assigned to Walter Lamb and their agency, he's also getting funding to teach them language and give them with the permits and help them resettle in a process. So there's a big distinction whether you come as a refugee with funding and rights and help, or you come as a humanitarian parole simply to say, okay, you're fleeing a war. You can come into our country and stay safe. But then it's up to us to say, just like in our case, I am asking all my neighbors who has cash jobs within walking distance. These people can't drive, they don't have a car, they don't have money, they don't speak the language. We need a caregiving or pet walking or babysitting, something.
Wow.
To help them earn money in a dignified way while they also deal with the trauma of what just happened.
Exactly.
What just happened to them.
That's so huge. It's the other thing we have here. We don't have that European experience of World War II and all the history of war and all that stuff. We're kind of it's impossible to understand unless you've been through it, and your parents have been through the same thing.
So I'll say one thing. So the daughter is graduated from medical school. She worked as a medic at the time the war broke out. Her path from this humanitarian parole with no legal into maybe some residency here in the United States. Is that the path we take? Or does she hope that her city is not completely destroyed?
Right.
And the house she had is something she actually can return to?
Right.
Is the hospital still standing where she was working?
Yeah.
She was working in a children's maternity ward and children with cancer. I think her instinct is telling, if it's still standing and the war is over, I want to go back.
Sure.
But if you have people from Kharkiv or Lviv or Mariupol, it's pretty much gone.
Yeah.
Everything's bombed and gone. And what do you go back to? There's nothing to go back to. So it's a tragedy on such a deep human level. And to me, it's so tragic because every day I watch the news, I read Facebook, I talk to my family in Lithuania. We're all kind of in the same, there is no end. My hope lives where you say, okay, this will end tomorrow or next week or something. Every day I'm just devastating because there's no end to this yet.
Yeah, I don't even, words can't explain how many problems and how many levels of problems there are for each, and each of these people have these aren't simple problems. They're not simple solutions, and they don't even know what the future holds. That's just, that's
and like Zhanna mentioned, thinking about linguistics in this country, we don't speak many languages typically, or are very interested in the linguistical part of it. So like Zhanna mentioned, you might be luckier to be in a Slavic spoken language country like Poland that's really taken the brunt of immediate refugees, or Moldova. However, if you find yourself in Lithuania, as I explained, only older people speak Russian, which is what we both can understand. Lithuanian is a Latin and Sanskrit-based language, completely nothing in common. And so in my town, we have 75 children now that of all ages. So what we want to give them is a preschool class, where somebody speaks either Ukrainian or Russian. A ninth grade where they are learning math and whatever they're supposed, that's the kind of the safety and normalcy. But we don't have teachers. Teachers are younger. They don't speak the language.
Yeah.
And then we don't have enough Ukrainians because, the governments, of course, are trying to spread people out. So there's not one, overwhelmed city that just can't deal with the refugee crisis. So we don't have 50 preschoolers and 50 first graders and 20 ninth graders and 10th graders. So it's really hard because we want to provide them normalcy, which is school. School is where kids belong, and that's the normalcy.
Yeah.
And same thing, so a family lives in my childhood home in Ioannishkis today. 2 65-year-old grandparents, the daughter in her 40s, her husband stayed to fight, and the 6-year-old little girl. They're living in my house where I grew up in Ioannishkis today.
Wow.
The two parents are engineers, and it's unlikely they will get a job in engineering in Ioannishkis right now.
Right.
The daughter is an economist, but again, through this language barrier, it's unlikely she's going to be able to just, find a business and use her finance and economic skills.
Right.
And then, of course, little girl needs other 6-year-olds to be with and play with. And
wow. I don't know what else to say. It's there's a big need out there. Yeah, we've got a city with a lot of people with big hearts, and hopefully every little thing like this we can do to expose the reality of what's going on out there, and more people are coming every day and they need help, and how you help. I just did, I never thought of that level myself. I watch the news every day and I hear about it, but what are these people when they step on our turf? What happens next? So it's so good that you're there. The churches you mentioned there, I want to make sure people know how to help. I know there's a lot of big hearts in San Diego. So if you're watching this, someone else, get together, do what you can, teach, help, assist, give money, give your home for a while, give your home for longer. So help me reach people and tell me what should people do that are seeing this? What's the best way to reach out to you?
So I do want to recognize Zhanna and her phenomenal language teaching school. If you're looking for those language, if you can pay, it's great. I know Zhanna is trying to build her business here now that she's here. She's also volunteering her time. So thank you, Zhanna. This is really important work. I really appreciate what you said about as long as we each do something, we can do a lot. If we have a lot of money, giving some of it right now to where it's needed, I'll take it and pass it on to good work through Rotary. That's easy. The churches have told me today, just before this podcast, I asked them, what do you need? Do you need stuff? Do you need people? Do you need diapers? And they pretty much said, we have enough till Monday, and we know Monday is when the closure happens. So we know that this influx of people just coming and coming and coming is, we have 3 more days for this, and then it's over. So we don't want stuff. We have enough, we think. My email is there if you want to give a donation or get involved. Again, you also encourage Spring Valley Church is a good place that's providing great service. Water's Edge and Ocean Beach and United Methodist Church of San Diego, just a few. I'm sure there's more. If you can drive, if you can volunteer. I know the hardest shifts to cover were nights, both to go pick someone out at the border or bring coffee or a blanket, and then at the churches that they wanted people to be there and make sure people are safe. Intake is appropriate, where we know where people are going, what do they speak, and so forth. And I'm also hoping that, some churches that are not local, that haven't had a chance to help, are able to help. So, for example, there were a few churches in Buffalo, New York, that reached out here. And, our 2 ladies got very excited because, we've been watching out where could be free housing, right, for a year. Some of these communities say, we will house people for a year and we will help them for a year. But of course, they want to help first people with small children.
Right.
So the 2 ladies we have don't qualify, which is okay. Families with small children, I do believe, should get priority. And the rest of us can rally in the people who don't have a path here.
Right.
By giving cash, by helping, by maybe offering a job opportunity that's while they get work permits for the official way.
And also just sharing with people, I mean, I didn't know the depth of this, like I said. So if we can all do what we can, but share with our friends and family and our social media and all the ways we communicate with people, make it make it known, make it more aware. We hear about the war every day, but we hear the sound bites in the news and that type of thing. But some people just don't, just don't stop and think, geez, maybe there's something I can do.
Yeah.
Like you
So,
said, a little or a lot.
Zhanna, the people you're teaching English, where do they live? Are they all within the, pre-approved group of friends or family, or?
I didn't get the question. Can you repeat that, please?
Yes, the people you're teaching English, the Ukrainians you're teaching, where do they currently live?
Well, I have one group that is of people who have recently come to the United States as refugees, and we have quite a geography here. It's mostly California because I posted it in the Orange County and San Diego Facebook groups, so that's why we have them here. But I have one lady. She is now in Philadelphia, and they, as to their Ukrainian cities where they used to live, most people are from Kiev, and then there is a woman from Kharkiv, a woman from Vinnytsia. This is a city near Kiev. This is central Ukraine, and I even have one student from Bucha. And she tells just devastating stories, and she has two sons who live here, so they took her from there, and she managed to escape Bucha 3 days prior to the bombing that began there and to the surrounding. And Brad, if you don't know, Bucha was one of the first cities, like little towns. It's not a big city, it's a town that was completely surrounded and completely destroyed by the Russian army, and there were tortures and there were nasty things, absolutely nasty things. So she came here and she had her sessions with psychologists, and it took her quite a while to try to get over some, peaks of that psychological state, so she could go back to people again and to life that she will never be able to call normal, because there will never be a normality for people who have overcome that. Yes, who suffered that.
Let me ask you, Zhanna, do you need more people to teach English, or do you have enough staff to teach people, or do you have
I was, thank you very much, Brad, for this question. And I was thinking about that. As I used to have a school in Ukraine, and I still have some teachers who are Ukrainians and who I guess would want to have some additional jobs, because there is also the job crisis in Ukraine right now. People cannot make money as they used to, because there is not a lot of jobs left. I was thinking that I could build up a school with Ukrainian teachers teaching those who need English in America. Maybe not only in America, there are a lot of people who are in Ukraine now and who need to study English as well. But this is, this is not a problem for me to set up a team of, let's say, like 10 maybe teachers or more, because I have people on staff, I have connections, and I can give the job. But the thing is that we are encountering the other problem. The Ukrainians do not have money to pay for their studies.
Right.
So I am thinking maybe I will go crowdfunding, and maybe just there will be volunteers who would like to pay for Ukrainians for them to have the education. If this is the case, I can build up the school and just have as many people as I can, like hundreds maybe of people, because I have all the programs, I have all the material, and this is not something like just came up to my mind. No, I've been doing that since 2009, so it's been 12 years of that experience. So what I need is money that could cover the job of the teachers and the program that we could support, because I can invest my time, but how much time do I have? I can take 10 people, 20 people, even 50 people. I don't know. I'm going for blended learning now, and I'm not only going live, but I am recording the lessons to you know, like to multiply, trying to multiply myself as a teacher. But
so the supply exceeds the demand right now.
Yes,
you have access
yes.
to more teachers. You just need funds to give
Absolutely,
them something.
absolutely.
So
Funds could do the job. Yes.
right. So 21 English online. Is that right? Did I say that right?
Yes, yes,
Okay,
yes.
scrolling on the bottom.
That's right.
So they
That's
could
right.
contact you directly to just,
Yeah, there is the phone there in the contact. So
okay.
yeah, they could use that phone.
Great.
This is my Ukrainian number, and I use Telegram and Viber and WhatsApp, and like everywhere, and Facebook.
And Simona, they can reach out to you with questions or how they can help.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Great. I will be glad to answer any questions.
Outstanding.
Or just to talk. It helps to, you know, because we are humans. We need that heartfelt attitude to each other, and sometimes even a small talk can help. And there is just one thing that I want to say. This just came up into my mind, that this is the best time to do the true and meaningful things. You know, the things that you have always wanted probably to do. If you have that full heart and you don't know how to express yourself with all the feelings that you have inside of you, this is the right time to do it. Just to open your heart and to give.
Yeah. Well, that's certainly something to remember. People go through, we all go through our lives, and, you know, you need that. Now's the time. Take action. No better time than the present. So thank you both so much for not only who you are and what you're doing for these people in need. It's been a pleasure to have you both on. Hopefully this will help and get some people to reach out. So if you're watching again, you know, go to 21 EnglishOnline.com, reach Zhanna directly, reach Simona at her contact information. Even through San Diego Oasis, they can reach you, and do, like you said, do something. You know, help directly. Go down to the border and help people. Connect with some churches, either ones that are helping right now, or connect with your own church and get them started. You know, just reach out to people, let them know about this problem, make it more personal, and take action and change some lives, and do what we're all put here to do anyway. So thank you both so much for being here. I'm touched by your service and who you are, and it's been a pleasure to have you. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Thank you, Brad.
We do have to wrap it up, and I do want to thank our sponsors, Attorney King, of course, Sequan Casino, IB Fitness, and today our special sponsor, the Lomas brand in Loma Santa Fe, and the Solana Beach Chamber of Commerce, and go to Fiesta del Sol. And that's our show. Thank you. Donate, help. This is a crisis, and people are really hurting out there, and they really need some help. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.